Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, the show that frequently treads where others fear to tread and dare not. Hey, and speaking of which, we're talking to Andrew Passaggio, right? And he's talking about how he wants time travel technology to be released to the public and teleportation and all of this kind of stuff. And it's basically because he doesn't like being stuck in traffic in Seattle, you know. And I came up with actually a listener sent me this thing, and I've decided to turn it into like a little protest chant, and I'll see if I can get it working here for you.
What do we want? Time travel. When do we want it? Irrelevant.
All right, well, my very special guest, Alfred Weber, is here with us today. So, Alfred, welcome back.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a very apt chant. So this was back in 1973, and I wrote a book in 73. It was published in 1974 by G.P. Putnam's and Berkeley Medallion Worldwide. It was published in Japan, and it was in all the airport bookstores, and I was on national TV in the U.S. and in Canada, and had my 15 minutes of fame. It found that the Earth sciences were congruent with a global coastal event, and that is that, the Earth could have a global coastal event in a way that Edgar Cayce's remote viewing had seen. And readers who want to read that, you can go to our website, exopolitics.com, and you can download, just go to the right-hand menu there, and you can click on the Age of Cataclysm, and you can download a free copy of the book there. And a used copy, we checked on Amazon, is going for like $150, so it's a good bargain. So anyway, that was sort of my documenting of what I call the catastrophic timeline, because I think that what I've been able to document is that there's actually a number of timelines, and one we can call the catastrophic timeline, and the other we can call a positive timeline. And that my hypothesis is that the Earth has now shifted to a positive timeline, and that the timeline that the New World Order was on in 1971, in which they made $2 to $3 billion of black budget investments to build 174 plus deep underground military bases, is actually a catastrophic timeline that has shifted, and that we're not going to have these gross cataclysms. But let me go forward and present all the evidence so that we can, people can make up their own minds, based on this rational evidence, and then, see, do I want to identify with the New World Order and their underground bases, or do I want to identify with a positive timeline, with the fact that we are landing what some people say is paradise on Earth, and we'll be there by sometime in 2025 or so. So after I wrote The Age of Cataclysm in 74, then in 1999, I wrote a book on the positive timeline, which was Exopolitics, that founded the science of intelligent civilizations in the multiverse, and that explored the positive timeline. And their readers can also find out that book was actually taken back from 2005 when it was published back to 1971, where Andy Bashago and two other witnesses that were part of Project Pegasus saw it physically. It was time traveled back from 2005 at least, back to at least 1971 by CIA and DARPA. So they had it, and they were circulating my book Exopolitics around in 1971, and I was then General Counsel of the Environmental Protection Administration of New York, And I was actually invited at that time under false pretenses. My job was to give talks on the environment, and this group came up and invited me to go. I went down, they took me almost down to Washington, D.C. I went to this office building. I spoke to almost 50 men in suits, very much different from the housewife and students of the normal environmental group. I sensed that they were like, spooks or spies. But I just gave my standard stump speech on the environment. But they were actually checking me over because they had my book that I would write in 1999 that would be published in 2005, that would be published on the internet as a free book in the year 2000, that would launch the exopolitics paradigm, that would result in 50 governments by now opening up their UFO files, and that we would find ourselves on 19th October 2012 talking about here. So they wanted to see what I was like in 1971. That's what I call time travel surveillance. So that's how Andy Bishago and I end up being what we call time quantum entangled in the quantum access process. So kind of moving along here then, there are various data points that we've talked about that at first glance tended to confirm the fact that we may have a global coastal event sometime in 2013 or, in the near future. And that was the 1971 DARPA chronovisor probe, which saw the U.S. Supreme Court building under 100 feet of brackish water in Washington, D.C. in June of 2013, even though it was done in 1971. And then the 2010 study by the Farsight Institute, in which they saw, yes, a global coastal event, very much like what Edgar Cayce had foreseen, that I've written The Age of Cataclysm about, which is what would happen if a brown dwarf star twin to our sun came into the inner solar system and wreaked havoc with our sun, and all these meteors came in, and these solar storms and pole shifts, and we would really have a havoc here. Now, why do I say that it's probably not going to happen? Why is it that we are on a positive timeline where the New World Order said we are on a catastrophic timeline? Well, there we have to go into exopolitics. And I welcome all of your readers now all of your listeners to go to exopolitics.com, which is our website, because you'll be able to see the photographs there that are in this article. And the first photograph, of course, that we have at the top, figure 1, is one of the first public photographs of the Planet X system, which was shot by the Max Planck Institute. This is how we broke through the NASA CIA cover-up of Planet X. And you can see it there in figure 1 at the top of the article at exopolitics.com. Now, going further down into the article, we have at figure 2 and 3, we have these photographs of the sun, and what do we see there? We see giant triangular portals and UFOs that are the size of planets around the sun. Now, what are they doing there? And we have videos of a giant planet-sized UFOs around the sun that are shooting lasers into the sun. We have these large rods around the sun. Well, one hypothesis is that these are extraterrestrial craft and ultradimensional UFO craft, which are photographed around the sun which are actually installing shielding mechanisms to shield the solar system and Earth from the solar flares and storms that Nemesis, Planet X, Nibiru, Wormwood, the Destroyer, may cause. And you can go there and look at these photographs. And we found that there's an exopolitical precedent for this. This year, in 2012, there were literally historic artifacts that were released by the Mexican government, which are ancient Mayan artifacts, which show, guess what, extraterrestrial craft with the sun with triangle stargates, where they depict the sun as a singularity, i.e. as a portal for interdimensional UFO craft to come through. They depict planet-sized UFOs around the sun, and they're deflecting comet and a planet that's headed for Earth, i.e. shielding the Earth from the effects of the passages. So that one hypothesis for why there's a positive timeline is that, oh yes, it may be that we have a Planet X that's coming in, and it may be that using time travel and other sources, the New World Order in 1971 saw all of this. They diverted $2 to $3 billion and built 174 secret deep underground military bases, otherwise known as DUMBs. But the galactic fleet of the upper dimensional ethical extraterrestrial have other plans, and that is to protect Homo sapiens, which is, in our original blueprint, a 12-strand DNA light being in the third dimension that was created by a consortium of Pleiadians, Alpha Centaurians, Sirians, and other advanced human extraterrestrial races, and that those races are not about to experience the destruction of their creation at the hands of a satanic or, lower order, New World Order, power elite led by banking and satanic monarchical forces who built these underground bases. So that's part of the exopolitical drama which is occurring now. Now, we also have photographs from Bonnie Gilson, who has published. This is a photograph taken over Melbourne, Australia, in a commercial jet on May 28, 2012, showing her Hercolubus Planet X system, and it is almost identical in configuration in the next figure 6, which is a depiction of the Avery crop circle, which has a depiction of the Planet X configuration, which is identical to what was photographed over Melbourne, Australia on May 28th, 2012, and show this. We're having what even the upper dimensional ETs, those crop circle makers, are now predicting is coming in, and so these are some of the reasons why, and to get into a further reason, which derives from the testimony of Bernard Mendez, who is one of the witnesses to the 1980s CIA jump room program. What Bernard Mendez has testified to, and listeners can go to a seminar with Andy Basiago
Just
and
sit down on the couch out there.
Bernard
I'm like a minute
Mendez
away
that
from
was
break.
held in Vancouver, British Columbia, moderated by myself. It was held under the auspices of EXO University, and that's at www.exouniversity.org. That was held on June 1st, 2012. And what Bernard Mendez and Andy Basiago can corroborate what their team was able to find was a total of 153 or so what are called synthetic quantum environments. These are sort of holographic environments created in near space up to 400 miles out under the surface of the Earth, or in some places.
In some other places as well. Okay, final segment coming up, ladies and gentlemen, rounding off the week. And also in a couple of hours' time, if you happen to be in Auckland, there will be a conference being held at the Greyland Community Centre at 4 p.m, where we might be showing a DVD, The Great Culling Premiere of New Zealand. We'll be right back. Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show. Broadcasting live from the fabulous AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Exposing scumbaggery, speaking the truth, with no taboo topics, and massive guests, and cool as frack hosts. Dude, this is the place you want to be listening to talk radio. Speaking of which, if you go to the Listen Live page of AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the amount of visits that have been there since Independence Day, July the 4th, 2011, is now 999,797 and counting. So, I would love it to break the 1 million mark during my show. So, if you're listening to American Freedom Radio right now, what I'd love you to do is like put up on your Facebook or something like right this second, listen to AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Just click on the live stream just for a second or something like that. Beef that up to 1 million. It'd be cool. But anyway, it probably won't happen. So in the meantime, I've got just a quick announcement for the New Zealanders listening in Auckland. At 4 p.m, it's now currently like nearly 1 p.m, the Greyland Community Centre will be hopefully screening The Great Culling, the new Paul Wittenberger film, maker of Why in the World Are They Spraying This? First in 3 installments about air, food and water. This first one is about water fluoride and all of this other sort of stuff. So it's going to be really, really cool. And we need, so this is the emergency part of it. We don't yet have the projector or a TV screen or anything actually sorted in order to get that actually played there. So if you know somebody who's got a big flat screen or a projector with a screen or something like that, we've already got a DVD player and and some sound organised, but if you've got that or know somebody who does, you need to be getting on your phone, and stop listening to the show if need be. Just get out there, find them, and contact me within a few minutes after the show ends today. So that's all taken care of. Housekeeping, and my very special guest, Alfred Labremont Weber. And we've got final segment here, Alfred. Is there anything you'd like to finally round off with?
Yeah. Just to finish up on the point that I was making, and that is that Bernard Mendez and Andy Basiago, who you'll be having on in a couple of weeks, if I understood you correctly, they have now come forth with a very important revelation, and that is that as a result of the 1980s CIA jump room, they discovered that a species of greys have constructed 153 holographic environments around the planet, mostly in space, about 400 miles out, some of them under the surface of the Earth or on the Earth, but these are kind of like Disneylands in space, and they were meant sort of like a psychological operation on humanity, whom the Greys thought were not ready for space travel. And so one alternative hypothesis is that in those studies, for example, Edgar Casey with his remote viewing, the 1971 DARPA probe, which saw the global coastal event, Washington, D.C., under 100 feet of brackish water, and the 2010 Farsight Institute report that saw the same global coastal event in June of 2013, what they were picking up on is not a real future, but rather one of these synthetic quantum environments. That is a hologram in space of an Earth devastated by cataclysm, which the Greys had constructed. Now, that's an alternative theory, but I think that it's more probable that what the reality is, or what the reality may be, because we're getting phenomena like an enormous amount of comets coming our way, much more than expected, and coming our way from one source, which means that there's something pushing them our way, which is probably this source, this nemesis or Hercolubus, which could be a brown dwarf, or it could be a great comet, which they're expecting a great comet in November 2013, which will be, quote, 15 times brighter than the moon. And that could cause great havoc, and that's why the New World Order built the 174 bases underground so that they could survive and we could be depopulated. But in fact, what's happening is that the advanced extraterrestrials, and you can go online to Soho, and a lot of these images, they're online at YouTube and elsewhere. You'll see these giant UFOs around the sun. They're building shields and mechanisms to shield the Earth from the any giant solar flares that may occur, if they do occur, from any flyby of this celestial object. Okay, so with that, I turn it over to you, Vinny.
Okay. I was wondering, like the end of the world to me is part of a three-way thing, and the future's not set. Our fate is what we make. I think it's a quote from Terminator, ironically, and what I've determined is it's like there's three things here. Number one, the prophesized destruction, return of the destroyer, and we're all fracked, or it's that kind of negative aspect of Doomsday or the Battle of Armageddon, biblical prophecy, and all of this sort of stuff coming through. It's bad, but it'll be better later on. The other one is it's all just a massive freaking psyop designed to really scare people into doing nothing, thinking that, everything's going to end anyway, and then just accepting the New World Order without a fight, while you're all worried about the end of the world. And the last one is part of a renewal, a advancement, an evolution, a golden age of mankind, where all of the scumbaggery, the lies, the deception, and BS, and people being disconnected from each other, people fighting over every little thing, suddenly we realize that that's not worth it anymore. And we start to become better people for it. And it'll be like our species is non-recognizable. I don't like that. Because when you look at our species at the moment, you got to wonder, are the vast majority of people good as we'd like them to be? Or are the vast majority of people under the control of people that we would never want to see?
Right, and so that in fact is totally congruent with the vision that we've put forth of the positive timeline, and that is we are on a positive timeline, 2012 to 2025 and beyond, and by 2025 we're on objectively a blueprint to land unity consciousness on the planet, an objective condition of what we could call paradise on Earth. That we're in a transitional period now but by 2025, that will be paradise on Earth. And what you so aptly call to be the kind of the barrier of psyops, number one, and number two, the catastrophic timeline, which the New World Order were banking on. I mean, it is actual. It's a scientific fact that they spent $3 trillion of black budget money on 174 deep underground military bases, which do exist, which were to hide the New World Order personnel from a possible global coastal event. That is being obviated by an intervention of higher powers now, which is pushing us on to this positive timeline of creating paradise on Earth. So we're both speaking the same language.
And as creative beings, we don't need to have some other ethereal hand be the only force that is channeling us towards a positive future. We can play an active role in each and everything we do every single day. It doesn't matter whether you're a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. The thing that you'll probably have in common with everybody is that you see people every day. And you've got an opportunity to talk to people every day. You've got an opportunity to have real conversations instead of BS that doesn't matter. And I think we should all take that opportunity, because otherwise, why are you here? What's the purpose of your life if you're not fulfilling something greater, if you're not trying to improve things using the talents and the skills in whatever way that you're endowed with? We all got to realize our own personal power and the capacity to shape the future as we would like to see it. And it doesn't mean we'll get there. I don't believe that there's a utopia. I believe that corruption is a perennial problem, but I do believe in the power of the human spirit to save itself without having to wait around for somebody to do it for you. Thank you, Alfred, for coming on the show with us today. And if you want to check out more of his work, exopolitics.com. And of course, if anybody wants to contact me directly after the show, if they're interested in coming to the conference at the Greyland Centre at 4 p.m, just give us a bell and we'll tell you all about it. Alfred, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, Vinny.
We'll see you again sometime, ladies and gentlemen. You have yourself a fabulous weekend.
If you take an active interest in maintaining the optimum health and well-being of yourself and your family, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is the magazine you've been waiting for. Having taken Australia and New Zealand by storm, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is now available in the UK and Europe. Visit www.nznaturalmed.co.uk or call 01626 337 531 to order your copy now.
Do you realise every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models: a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com.
No matter where you live, globalism affects you. Did you know that the Vinny Eastwood Show has more subscribers than New Zealand Herald TV and is New Zealand's most popular YouTube news channel, where warm-hearted humour and a list of awesome guests talk about crucial issues which the mainstream media ignore? A show where you, the listener, can phone up with questions, comments and suggestions of guests. Vinny is building a hub to connect truthers with raw information they need to become active. He can help you gain further skills such as website building, producing audio and video, and creating revenue streams in your own multimedia environment. Because Vinny supports such a wide range of people in the truth movement, he is not government or corporate backed and relies entirely on your donations. Give now, give generously, or subscribe for $10 a month for access to ad-free video archives. Just visit thevinnyeastwoodshow.com and click donate.